Hi, Susan Edwards again, Public Engagement Coordinator for Canyon School District, here to introduce you to and walk you through our volunteer system. The volunteer system in Canyon School District is a couple of parts that I will talk you through. One of them is housed on the foundation.canyonsdistrict.org screen. I'll pull that up right now so you can see that. Again, foundation.canyonsdistrict.org. And if you go here to volunteer, then you will see the homepage for Canyon's volunteer system. We have staff available to assist in background checking all of our volunteers, and every volunteer that works in Canyons should be background checked. There are two types of volunteers. One are supervised volunteers, which would come to this page and would apply. A few things to know about that. When you click here and you agree to be a volunteer in Canyons, staff will get your name and your birth date and some information about you, and will look at both a federal and a state database for crimes against a person. That's assault, rape, battery, sale of drugs, some different things that are crimes against a person. That background check usually takes a day or so. However, at the beginning of the school year and any time we're coming upon field trips, we do end up having quite a few people jump in. So while we have several staff that check this daily and sometimes multiple times a day, it could take up to 2 or 3 days to get an approval through. So we really need parents and people in the community who want to volunteer to get on and to sign up and ask to be an approved volunteer days, if not weeks, before you're wanting to be in the school. This is very important. If you don't sign up and on the day of a field trip, you're in the front office and the bus is trying to leave and you need to be cleared right then, we'll do what we can. But if your name is very common and we can't narrow it down to just you without asking some more questions, or if one of our databases go down, we may not be able to clear you on a moment's notice, and that may prohibit you from volunteering or going on the field trip that you would like to go on. So it's very important that you come onto this site and put your name in. This database of volunteers clears every July 1st. All the names from the last year go away, and you have to file again to be cleared, and we do that yearly. So even if you've been a cleared volunteer in the past, you will need to do so again each school year. When you do that, like I said, allow for a couple of days to get an answer back. If for some reason you don't clear or there's a confusion, we can't figure out which John Doe you might be, we will contact you and try to get some more information, try to do that through additional information and inquiry, or potentially have you come in to be fingerprinted and go that route. So supervised volunteers are what you see here on this page. There's another type of volunteer called unsupervised volunteers. Unsupervised volunteers are like some of your coaches, people that go on overnight travel, especially with our high schools. Also, occasionally somebody who might work with theater kids, or maybe a specific reading person that maybe is reading in a closed door room. Principals make the determination on who are unsupervised volunteers. If you feel like you have unsupervised access to our students, then always please ask your principal, should I go for an unsupervised volunteer background check? That requires you coming into the Canyons District office to our Human Resources Department. They will do a fingerprint background check on you. Those background checks last for 3 years. The reason that's different is because they go into a system where we get notified if anything happens in your life that causes you to have a point of concern legally. We get notified when that happens, and therefore we are pretty assured that nothing has gone on in your life that would change your status of being approved. So those last for 3 years. But they are pretty costly to do. The district does take and cover the cost for that, but we are a little bit more particular on who has that type of background check. And again, that would be principal recommended if you need that type of background check. But for the average, probably 95% of all volunteers, they will come here to foundation.canyonsdistrict.org to the volunteer site. Click there, and then they would sign up to be supervised volunteers. Now, the next phase of the volunteer system is in our schools. Once someone is approved, it goes into our approved system. And when you walk into any school in Canyons, with the exception of some of our high schools, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but all of our elementary schools, all of our middle schools, some of our high schools, and so most locations, you will walk in and there will be a computer kiosk right inside the front door before you can enter the school. You will put in when you come into the school and what you're there for. And if you are an approved volunteer, it will print out a name badge for you to wear while you were there in the school. If it doesn't say you're an approved volunteer, then you should talk to the head secretary that's standing right there and ask her, tell her, I know I've registered, or oops, I've forgotten to register, or whatever the case may be. She will help you, or she will call my office and we will help you sort out how to become an approved volunteer. If for some reason your volunteer clearance doesn't clear, someone from my staff or our human resources staff will call you and will be in touch to discuss whatever the issue might be, and to try to get you to be able to be a cleared volunteer if that is possible. So let me tell you the safety and security of this system. We want to make sure everyone that works with our students and our kiddos are good adults that we know, or at least to the best of our knowledge, are safe to be around our students. And when you parents entrust us with your students, we want you to know that we're taking every precaution possible. That's why we have this system. That's why we ask that these schools use their computer kiosk and make all volunteers sign in every single time they're in the school. Even if you get to know the PTA president extremely well, every time she walks into that school or he walks into that school, we want to make sure that they sign in and get a badge. That is so that they know that nothing has changed, that we have not voided their approval process, which has happened in the past when someone has had a problem with the law and we have had to deny their status. Usually we will notify the school, but one way or the other, the computer system will bring it up and alert that there's a problem. So that is the security that you as a parent and as a volunteer can rest assured that we've done our part to assure that. But that computer at the school has to be used. The second thing that system does is that it tracks volunteer hours. So if you are volunteering in the school, every volunteer should be signing in and signing out on that kiosk. And if they are doing that, then those volunteer hours will be tracked. If you are a PTA volunteer, you should be signing in as a PTA volunteer. And then your PTA president or whoever they have tasked with this can pull up a report of how many hours PTA have volunteered. Likewise, the school can pull up how many volunteer hours have we had total, or how many volunteers outside of PTA have we had. This helps in many ways. If the school is writing or the district is writing for grants or for money from different programs, many times, matter of fact, most times, they ask for how many volunteers and how much service do we have in our schools. Also, it allows the Board of Education, one of their tenets is community engagement. It allows them to see which schools are having a lot of volunteers, how many have a lot of support, or where we as a district need to extend additional support. So there's several things that it informs us of, as well as security. The other thing it does is if you're there volunteering in the school and something happens, the school has to be evacuated, it allows them to check and see, did we have volunteers in the school? That's another thing that this system does. So there's many purposes for this, the foremost being student safety on guarding who gets to volunteer in the schools. But there are several reasons for it. It's very important that you use the system with integrity, that you sign in each time. Now, what happens as a PTA person? You may be sitting at your kitchen table at night and do 3 hours of PTA work. Maybe you're the membership person, or maybe you're cutting things out for a teacher. Who knows? But there's all kinds of reasons that you might be volunteering outside of the school. If that's the case, you can also go in here to volunteer login. And once you have logged in to the system, you will be able to see a place that it will allow you to enter bulk hours. I'm going to go out and sign in a little differently than the average volunteer. Down here at the very bottom of the page, and this is only important to me, my staff, and to PTA. Down here at the bottom of the page, there is an admin/PTA login. I'm going to log in as me, which allows me to see much different things than all of you can see. But once in here, I'll be able to show you a few things. So if you are logging for yourself hours outside of the school, you go to bulk hours. You will be able to go over here and put add bulk hours, and you would pick which building, if you're PTA or non-PTA, and you would pick the building that you are volunteering for, the number of hours you have volunteered, the month that those hours happened in, and the school year that those happened in, or the calendar year. Then you would add a description. So like here, it gives the example of assisting with Mrs. Jones' first grade field trip. It was out of the school. You might also select, I'm a volunteer at Jordan Valley, and I volunteered 30 hours in the month of May, and my description was I was cutting up pieces for teachers to use for their bulletin board next year. So those are all possibilities that you can do. So that's how you add bulk hours. Now the other thing you can do is if you're PTA, you can select that building. So we're just going to say Altaview Elementary, and you could put in all the volunteer hours for your PTA that they have turned into you that were not logged into the system. So for instance, if you did a fun run and everybody was out on the field, you should have come through the system. But in preparing for that fun run, you had hours of shopping, or maybe buying treats, or possibly making the prizes. Who knows? But if you had hours that you have logged in, then you can go in and put this in, and then you can describe this. These are not necessarily relevant to one person. The bulk hours you can describe as a PTA president. You can say, hey, my PTA board worked 200 hours in May preparing for teacher appreciation. And you can do that there as well. The other thing that will be important to you as PTA presidents and your PTA staff is right here. You go in here to your PTA report. Again, we'll pick on Bella Vista. You say you want it from last school year till the end of this school year, and you generate that report. This report will pop up down here. And you will be able to see the number of volunteers that volunteered in any given month, the number of hours that they logged, okay? Now, you as PTA, and this is very important, you as PTA have to turn in your volunteer hours 3 times a year to Utah PTA and through your region. So you will have turned in a report somewhere near the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. Your end of the year report should all total up to a total, okay? To me, to the Canyons District, you will turn in volunteer hours, and that will be this, plus whatever didn't get logged in here. So when we ask for your volunteer hours at the end of the school year, you'll come in here and you'll say, okay, we had 329. And then likely you will say, oh my gosh, we had so much more than that. To the PTA, we've turned in 700 hours. Okay, well then you will need to turn in to me, we had 329 hours logged on the computer system, and you will either need to go into bulk hours and add the remainder, or you will need to just send an email to me, the difference for the total of your hours. Now I will go back and look at the last couple of years and see if your average hours are running about true to form, or if you're way low. And then I'll probably give you a call and say, hey, your hours in the past, you've usually logged 1,200 hours, and this year you logged 50. What's going on? And you're going to say, well, we didn't use the system or whatever. And at that point, we're going to have a conversation about the integrity of the system and making sure you use it. But the other thing that you should be aware of as PTA is your hours here on whatever you turn in to me should also match whatever you have turned into PTA. So the totals for PTA and the total that you turn into me for the year should match come June. So you should have gotten the totals from both of those should be identical by the end of the year. You should have both. That's an overview of the volunteer system. What we will do is as soon as we get your PTA rosters for the year, we will go through and add all the PTA presidents in with their permissions. The first time you get in each year, you get in with the username of last name dot first name dot lowercase PTA, and then your password to get in the first time is PTA. Once you get in for the first time, then you will update your password so it's unique to you. Now, two things about that. I'm going to repeat it again. After July 1st, you will be able to log in with last name dot first name dot PTA, lowercase, and then the password of PTA. Then you get in and you sign in to your account. You create your own password. If you forget your password, we cannot see it. We cannot reset this for you. So you will have to either remember your password, write it down someplace where you keep your passwords, or we will have to reset the entire thing. I think that's a good overview of the volunteer system. As with everything, if you have questions, please give me a call. I'm happy to answer them. My assistant, Marilee Ostrowski, also is an expert on this system. So good luck. Have a great year. Remember July 1 to have you, your board, and as many of your PTA members as you can to sign up to be volunteers. And we just want to share our appreciation, our heartfelt thanks for the hours that you'll give, and our true appreciation for all you do. Thank you so much.